My daughter's teacher called me for an urgent meeting. What she showed me on her phone left me speechless. I've always been the mom who answers school calls with dread in my stomach. As a single mother working 2 jobs, those midday calls usually meant Sophia was sick, in trouble, or had forgotten something important. So when Miss Reynolds called, requesting an urgent meeting after school, my mind immediately created worst-case scenarios. Had Sophia been bullying someone? Was she failing? Had she said something inappropriate? At 8 years old, my daughter was generally sweet and well-behaved, but the pandemic year of virtual schooling had affected her social skills in ways I was still discovering. I rearranged my work schedule, losing a desperately needed shift at the hospital where I work as a nurse's aide, and arrived at the school with my heart pounding. Miss Reynolds was waiting in her classroom, her expression unreadable. "Thank you for coming so quickly," she said, gesturing for me to sit at one of the tiny student desks. "I wanted to talk to you about something I've noticed with Sophia." I braced myself. "Is she in trouble?" Miss Reynolds looked surprised. "No, not at all, Ecclesi." She paused, reaching for her phone. "I wanted to show you something that happened during lunch period yesterday." My stomach tightened as she pulled up a video. Great. I thought video evidence of whatever went wrong. The cafeteria footage showed students scattered across tables. The camera focused on Sophia sitting alone, carefully unpacking her lunch, the simple sandwich and apple I'd prepared at 5 a.m. before my morning shift. Then I noticed a boy approach her table, clutching his empty tray, looking hesitant and nervous. I recognized him immediately. Connor, a new student with autism who joined the class mid-year. Sophia had mentioned him a few times, mostly noting that he didn't talk much and sometimes got overwhelmed by loud noises in the video. Connor stood awkwardly beside Sophia's table, not speaking. Other kids at nearby tables started to stare. I held my breath, wondering what would happen next. Without hesitation, Sophia scooted over and patted the seat beside her. Connor sat down, still clutching his empty tray. Sophia looked at his tray, then immediately broke her sandwich in half and placed one portion on his tray. She then took her apple, pulled a plastic knife from her lunch bag, and carefully cut it in half, giving him the larger piece. Connor didn't look up or speak, but he ate the food slowly. Sophia continued chatting animatedly, seemingly unbothered by his silence. When she pulled out the small cookie I'd included as her treat, she broke that in half too. Miss Reynolds stopped the video and looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I didn't understand what I was seeing at first," she explained. "Then another teacher told me that Connor had forgotten his lunch money and was too overwhelmed to tell anyone. He'd been standing in the lunch line frozen until the staff moved him along with an empty tray." She scrolled to another video from today's lunch. This time Sophia had 2 sandwiches, 2 apples, and 2 cookies packed neatly in her lunch bag. "She asked me this morning if I knew what Connor liked to eat," Miss Reynolds said softly. "I've been teaching for 17 years and I've never." Her voice trailed off as she wiped her eyes. I sat there speechless in our rushed mornings and exhausted evenings. I'd been so focused on making sure Sophia had completed her homework and had clean clothes that I'd missed this development in her character. "Why didn't you tell me you were sharing your lunch with Connor?" I asked Sophia that evening as we prepared dinner together. She shrugged as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You always pack me enough food, and Connor's mom sometimes forgets. You said that's what community means. When we have enough, we share." I froze, wooden spoon in hand. Those were indeed my words spoken months ago when explaining why we donated canned goods to the food bank despite our own tight budget. I hadn't realized she'd internalized them so completely. This morning I packed 2 lunches again. Sophia carefully checked that both were identical so Connor doesn't feel different, she explained. As she headed out the door, lunch bag in hand, I realized that in my exhaustion and worry about providing for her material needs, I'd somehow managed to give her something far more valuable. Some parent-teacher meetings aren't about problems that need solving, but about discovering the person your child is becoming when you are not watching. And sometimes the greatest parenting victories happen in the moments you didn't even know existed.